Start our meeting by taking roll. And Elizabeth?
Mayor Schoenheider is absent. Chairman Pantaleon is absent. Alderman Novit.
Here.
Alderman Waldeck.
Here.
Alderman Moore is absent. Alderman Reisenberg.
Here.
Alderman Tack.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
Alderman Edelman.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Second item on the agenda would be consideration of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on March 10th, 2014. Are there any additions, corrections, comments, or a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Minutes are approved. We're going to go to the third item on the agenda. And again, maybe we're going too fast, but this would be concerning the Ragdale Foundation and the proposal for the loan restructuring request. And Mike, would you be presenting that? Or?
I will be presenting that tonight. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, and good to see you back.
Good evening. Thank you. And you took the last pictures. You were the last two councilmen to serve on the council with me. So I guess that era has completely ended now with you two leaving the council. So congratulations. You did a great job while you were there.
Oh, thank you.
I'm here tonight to talk about the Ragdale. Are you putting it up? Okay, sorry. Ever since leaving the city council, I've been a member of the Ragdale board and also involved in development for Ragdale. And I'll take you back just a little bit in history. I know about time and how that you don't want to hear too much, but the first vote I had on the council when I was an alderman was for Ragdale to be separated from the city, and the Ragdale Foundation took over Ragdale. A small stipend was given to Ragdale at that time, and we took over the house and have had residents in there. And recently we needed to renovate the house because life safety issues, and also the house was old and needed the renovation, which we went ahead and did. And now under the new leadership of our new executive director, Jess Musin, and our president, Phoebe Chandler, who are both sitting who are sitting here, we have decided to take a step to the next level. Phoebe put the words best today: we run a village. And it's really not just the Ragdale House, but there's many other buildings that are on the campus. And while we renovated the Ragdale House, we really need to address the life safety and the reconstruction of the other buildings on campus. So in looking at the note, we had a choice of saying, well, do we want to come back and do another note to do that renovation and to promote our what's going to be next for Ragdale, or do we just want to extend the terms of this note? And so we are here to ask you to be able to extend the terms of this current note we have to, instead of having payments over the next 2 years, to spread it out over the next 5 years and an equal level payment of $300,000 a year. And the first payment we already have ready to be made to you, so it would really be over a 4-year period we're going to make these payments. And the reason we're doing this is twofold. As I said, number one, we're renovating a number of the other buildings that are on the campus, and number two, our mission is to try to change the focus of Ragdale a little bit, to get residents to be there and be able to give some of those residents an opportunity to be there at a no cost. And then the third thing is deferred maintenance. These are old buildings, and we need to keep maintaining them. Things happen, and we've always worked from one issue to the next on trying to maintain those buildings. This way we would create a sinking fund, and we'd really have a full 5-year program of how we're going to take it from here to the 5th year, where the campus will be totally renovated and ready to go. And these are your buildings, so we hope to work together with you as we have in the past to have those buildings renovated. As I said, I don't want to take too much time on this, so if there are questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And our president and executive director are here also in case there's any questions of them. Okay.
No, and are there any comments from council?
You basically want to extend out and lower the payments.
Yes.
So the
That is correct.
principal payments.
We still plan on making all the payments. We've made all the payments up to here. We could keep the old schedule, but then that would prevent us from going ahead and working on the Bound House and doing the other things we have to do with the place.
Okay. As a banker, I get requests like this every day. And you know what they say, old bankers never die, they just lose interest.
That's right. Oh, no, you're not losing any interest on this one.
As I said, it's the best of Palmer. But the thing, and it's just a question for the council as a whole, and plus we have a little time to fill until 7 o'clock, so to get some discussion going, I'm all for the idea of creating the reserve to maintain the other buildings on Ragdale. The one question I had was, the interest deferment goes through 2014, but then it picks up after this period of time. So you're almost forcing these interest payments on yourself at this point, or more interest to be paid. Is a council making a recommendation? And again, maybe I'm getting towards the end of my term, so it's being generous to a degree, but would council have any thought of deferring the interest for the balance of this payment? Again, it's a city asset, and to a certain degree, in maintaining the city asset and maintaining it in a basis where we're continuing the health of it, would council be interested in maybe deferring the payments for the interest on this after 2014? Just
You're
food
not
for
talking in a forgiveness of interest, you're talking just deferring it, so it would accrue nevertheless and ultimately be due, correct?
forgiving so long as they make payments on schedule.
No, there's a big difference between deferring and forgiveness of debt.
Well, I'd be talking about forgiving it if they make the payments on schedule. And it's just a thought, if there's any support by council for that thought.
I don't know that we can do that.
You already are doing it on the
Are
first
we?
part of the note.
All right.
You have deferred the interest on the first part of the note because you have recognized the fact that you are our partner and these are your buildings. So we had gone back and forth as to say, do we wish to ask for the interest forgiveness? We have a number of donors who have seen what we're doing, seeing where we're going, and has sparked interest in continuing to give the gift. And, you know, the question was, do we ask for that or don't we? And Kent, thank you for bringing it up. It's a subject that I'd love to have a discussion of, but it certainly wasn't our proposal tonight.
No, it's not put forth by you. This is my initiative on it.
I don't think it's the right thing to even be talking about this tonight without the mayor, without the finance chairman, and without another alderman. I mean, I'm willing to move forward with on the table right now, but if there's going to be any amendment to the proposal that's on the table, I suggest this be postponed until everybody has a chance to think about it. We have a chance to have a total understanding of it, and we have full participation of council, including the mayor.
Agreed.
Maybe even Vic, because there's imputed interest rules that the IRS has, and not fully appreciating the legal relationship between the two entities, the city and Ragdale. You got to be careful about making interest-free loans. You can't just do it willy-nilly.
Well, I'm just putting this idea out there. I'm not asking for approval, but again, continuing this thought possibly to a different meeting.
It's a noble thought, but I agree with Jack. I don't know that we should act on that aspect.
Did you say it's a novit thought?
No, yeah, that too, it's a noble thought.
Okay.
Could be both.
It's a noble thought.
Okay, but if there is no further discussion, do we have a recommendation or a motion for recommended action to take towards council?
I'd like to move that we move forward with the proposal as originally stated.
Second.
And would this be a roll call or?
This would be a voice vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
All-
Just so everybody's clear, you're directing staff and the city attorney to bring the documents back to you, and I think we can have for the May 5th meeting.
We can have for the May 5th meeting, and we can include, just for the sake of the discussion, some alternative language if there's going to be a deferral. I know that wasn't part of the motion, but it might advance the conversation at your May 5th meeting if that's going to be of help to you.
Thank you. And again, just to get the idea out there.
Thank you.
We're gonna give you options.
Yeah.
Do it the way that it was originally presented, and then we'll give you the option of what Alderman Novit is saying if you wanted to defer it. And then we'll also have Elizabeth calculate what that cost will be.
I don't think that was my motion.
I understand that wasn't your motion. I was offering that as a suggestion since there was the discussion, and if you wanted to have that before the council with the remainder members of the council there, we can certainly provide that.
The motion was just recommendation of what was proposed, nothing
Correct.
as far as that I've discussed or any deferral of interest. that we approve extending the loan to the $300,000 a year for 5-year span.
Okay. We'll bring it back to you exactly the way it's written here.
Okay.
Did we vote on this?
If there's no other questions on this,
Supposedly,
Yes, go ahead.
Randy asked a question, did we vote on it? I
Yeah,
believe
I
we
mean,
did.
there was a motion and a second, and aren't we supposed to vote on
We
something?
did.
There was a
We
voice
did.
vote.
It was a voice vote, yeah.
Do you want to, if you weren't heard, do you want to say yay or nay?
okay,
Right.
Okay.
All this.
vote's been had. The fourth item on the agenda would be other business.
Thank
you very
much.
Thank you.
And this would be the information relating to the March 2014 flash report. And copy of the flash report was submitted on agenda that was submitted to council earlier. And Elizabeth, would you be taking this, or?
I'll be happy to answer any questions that the committee had regarding the information in the March flash report.
I think George would usually say if he was here, how far behind is the state in payment?
Well, we had reported earlier that we were somewhat excited that the state had made 2 income tax payments and gotten to within 1 month, but they've fallen back behind, so they're 2 months behind. So they took a month holiday, and so they're back to 2 months behind.
Which is better than it usually is.
Better than it's been in past months, but
Are there any comments or other questions to Elizabeth on the flash report? There appearing to be none. We'll go to the fifth item on the agenda, which would be opportunity for the public to address the Finance Committee. And there's no apparent comment from the public. Do we want, Bob?
Well, I have one other item to bring forward. Alderman Moore called earlier today, and he had questions with respect to one of the regular agenda items, and that was the item about the LED lights and waiving the bid process for the LED lights. And he had some questions about why we were doing that. So both Dan Martin and I told him that we would present his concern to the full city council during the Finance Committee so that you could discuss it if you wish. Dan Martin is here to explain. It's not really, yes, we are waiving the bid, but it's because there is a consortium that we are buying them from. So it is in full compliance with our purchasing policies and procedures. But I did want to make sure for the record that Alderman Moore's concerns have been expressed to you.
Before you this evening was, staff is requesting City Council to waive the competitive bid process and award the purchase of the LED lamps before you tonight to Granger as an affiliate member of the National Joint Powers Alliance. Granger was awarded that contract through National Joint Powers Alliance, and in order to take advantage of those opportunities, the city became a member and participate in order to participate in that competitive pricing that has members that are 40,000 strong throughout the nation. And so it's part of the, as Bob pointed out, it's part of the purchasing directive that we must waive the public bid process in order to adopt the co-op price, if you will, or the alliance in this portion. Some other areas that we've done this is with playground equipment. Our long line striping goes through the suburban purchasing co-op, and so it's very much in line with that. So
I had a couple comments after reading that. Number one, when I first saw Granger's name in there, I always thought of Granger. They're a great service company, and I love them. But they were never like the cheapest. In fact, you always seemed to me, my connotation or perception of them was you paid a premium because they had what you needed in stock and you could get it today.
yeah.
But but as I read on through the report, I came to, I guess, be a believer that, okay, there's this consortium and you're getting them at the best possible price. I trust that you and your department has looked into it and made sure that they're the most attractive purchase. But my other question goes to, I think we're buying 300 of these LED lamps, and we've got something like 1,500 of them to replace. Does that sound?
Correct. That was the regular 5-year rotation when we were swapping out the lights with the mercury, the metal halide.
So here's my question. Are we just routinely swapping out 300 for 300, or are we waiting till the mercury vapors fail and then only replacing the ones that fail? Or are we taking down mercury vapors that are working perfectly fine and putting up an LED? And is there any residual value in the mercury vapor that we're recouping? And what's the payback on the LED? Because it would seem to me it makes more sense, buy some, have them in inventory, and just replace the ones that fail, instead of just replacing perfectly good mercury vapors, unless there's such a drastic differential in the cost of operation.
There is. First, I agree with what you're saying about Granger. Before the city was part of this national joint purchasing alliance, Granger would not be you would definitely want to be going with them, with McMaster-Carr or some other vendors. It was when we went ahead and participated and joined the National Joint Powers Alliance that we were able to get through Granger their competitive price that they need to give us because they're members and they were awarded the national contract through this alliance. So that's when everything changed, and we started finding where many of the things like batteries and filters and across the lamps, other types of fluorescent bulbs, we're having a hard time finding any cheaper price because of this National Joint Purchase Alliance, the competitive power that it has nationally. To answer your question as far as are we waiting, well, the metal halides are the ones that we're wanting to replace, and they have a ballast, and they have about a 5-year life expectancy. And about the first year and a half, they've already lost about 50% of their brightness or light. So as the 5th year comes, now we're already starting to see that those are just starting to fail. So we don't want them all coming out or going off at the same time. So we want to keep them on that rotation. Going to LED, we'll be able to go to a 7 to 10 year rotation. We're going to test that. We're going to push it as far as we can, to your point, to get as much out of it as we can. But metal halides are notorious for just going off, and then you have the whole ballast issue that kind of keeps trying to start, and it's very inefficient. So we've divided the zones into 5, the city into 5 zones, and we rotate on a 5-year, each year replacing, relamping those. So we don't have all the outages all at once, and we can keep better service, and we can approach it more efficiently on a maintenance level.
So you have an inventory schedule of all the lamp fixtures, and okay, these were put in 4 years ago. We're almost at the end of the 5 years. Yeah. So you're not going to be taking down the halide lamps that are just a year or two old.
We're going to go to the oldest neighborhood, which is the 4th Ward, actually, that's due for the relamping. So
of course.
Maybe you'd like that.
I withdraw my comment.
So you're up to plate. So, and also because of the favorable pricing that we were able to get, instead of 300, we're going to be able to do 600. So we're going to be moving this more aggressively to maybe a 3-year program. Then we'll be going after other lighting, the street lighting that ComEd provides, and some of the Cobra fixtures. These are just the lanterns that you see through town and through Western Avenue. And then we have traffic lights that we want to upgrade as well, but we don't feel that the technology's there where we can get a bulb in there as opposed to the whole fixture, which could become very costly.
Are we going to like the LED lights, or are people going to be calling us and complaining?
There's going to be very little difference. It's going to be just like a refreshed metal halide.
What's your 4 digits on your phone, just in case?
Can we get anything for the good but brief life bulbs that we're going to be taking out?
I'm sorry?
Can we sell them on eBay? Can we go to Chicago and say, we'll trade some old LED lights for a bunch of road salt?
Yeah, exactly. We'll work on that.
What's the payback on the lights in terms of energy savings? How many years?
We are going to be able to come back once we work with ComEd, because we're on a franchise agreement. It's a little different. We don't get just a regular bill like you do at home. It's in with all the buildings and all the other infrastructure that we pay on. So we're working through that. But through the research, it's identified to be about a 2 to 3 year payback.
You know, Alderman Tack makes a really good point. None of these lamps are metered. So it's not like they can measure the reduction in electrical consumption. It's a contract with ComEd per fixture, right?
Yes, but before we start relamping, we'll be filling out an application with ComEd and going through their process to recalculate based on what we're going to be retrofitting the lights to, and give them all the information in the cut sheets and the amount and where the locations are, and that will be recalculated as far as the way they do the billing.
And remind them how poorly they serviced us in the storm of 2012 and that they owe us.
And they've been very responsive lately,
Okay.
so.
Guilt against comment. That sounds like it's going to be productive.
Is there any further comment?
Just one other comment when I was talking to Alderman Moore, that just for belts and suspenders, when we did look at the bulbs and we did see that the lamps, that we looked on their website, who are their vendors, and one of them was one of the ones that we use up in North Chicago that does a lot of business with Abbott. So we just did a phone call like, okay, so if I have this many units, what kind of, just to try and test it, and they were north of the price considerably to what this price is. So just to let you know that, to feel comfortable with the price, you wanted to be sure I mentioned. Okay.
Okay, thanks. We have 5 minutes before the regular council meeting. I'm not sure if there's time really to discuss any items that might be on the council agenda.
Only if there was questions that any of the aldermen might have regarding anything on the agenda. I think it was fairly self-explanatory, but if there's anything, we'd be happy to answer it.
Did I understand we're not going to go on the the shared services? We're not going to consider that. That's off the agenda.
No, we are. I think Alderman was giving you the razz earlier this evening.
All right. I never know when they're serious. That's the trouble.
Is that why you didn't finish your hamburger?
No, I was filled. Thank you.
There apparently being no questions, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Okay.